welcome to another video. This one will be focused on making money. In the background for the first part of the video, I'll just have some clips of gameplay, mainly including all my doctor drops. I had a goal this league of farming Headhunter, and well, I've long passed that since I've already farmed two Headhunters by now. And now talking about money, so first of all, I think the biggest thing is it depends on your goals. So is your goal, for example, now to farm Headhunter no matter what? Like you have a build that you can map with or can boss with, and you just want to use that to farm Headhunter fully, so you'll generally do something that's the most profitable amount per hour that you can do? Or is it the other way where, of course, you like making money in Path of Exile, but you don't want to dedicate your whole enjoyment and your time played to only making money, which is probably the majority of people now. Like, you're just playing, you like your character, but you still have upgrades to do, which you need like a few exalts for. So it depends on your goals. As long as you're playing the game, doing maps or bossing, no matter what, you should be making money. And the difference is, it depends how much money you're making. So for example, I did not farm 10 mirrors in Blood Aqueduct, but if I were to farm Blood Aqueduct, I would still be making money, because you get chaos drops, you get 6 sockets, like, you get a lot of drops that add up and you make money. But in the same manner, if my build is strong enough, then I can easily do tier 10 maps in the same time. I will be making more money doing tier 10 maps than I would doing Blood Aqueduct, so I'm just making more money per hour. Now this depends again, and this is the point I want to make with the it depends on your goals. If my goal was just to farm a Headhunter as fast as possible, in this scenario I would do tier 10 maps instead of Blood Aqueduct, because I'm just making more money per hour. But if I didn't mind how much money I made per hour, but say I really like farming Blood Aqueduct and I don't like doing tier 10 maps, then I wouldn't mind farming Blood Aqueduct in this example, even if I'm making less money. Just because I enjoy it, I will probably do it for a longer amount of time, so eventually the money will even out and I'll have more enjoyment on the way there. The next point is the characters you're playing. If you just want to make money as fast as possible, then of course the best option is having one character that already has strong enough gear to do the content you're doing, and then making no upgrades to it or very minimal upgrades and just grinding out the money. But if you do enjoy, for example, making multiple characters, or you just want to keep getting upgrades for your character, of course in this scenario you will be making less money, or at least less money that you can show for, since every time you reroll, not only do you spend money on buying gear for the next character, but you also spend time leveling, you could spend time crafting, you could spend time getting the gems, so there's a lot of time spent and money spent on another character. The next point is, you've probably heard people say hideout is lava, and what they mean by this is they pretty much try to minimize the downtime they have in their hideout, because anytime you're in your hideout you're not killing monsters, so they will try, like some people even go to the extremes of putting their stash right next to the map device, so they instantly put another map in when they come out, and then they stash everything in dump tabs and go again. And of course, if you're mapping for money and the only goal you have is making money, then of course this applies to you. Like, you try to minimize your downtime in hideout. But personally, I don't believe in this example. Even though I do it sometimes, I do think it will burn you out way faster from Path of Exile in general, and it's also probably less enjoyable if you're just playing the game with only the goal in mind to make money. You should set goals for yourself, because having goals in Path of Exile would just make you play longer, which also results in making more money, of course. And then also, how much money is enough money for you? So for example, for me, the first week I really have the goal of making money, because I just want to get my Headhunter and I want to get about 40 to 50 exalts of gear for my Ranger. After I get those, I no longer have the need of I have to play to make the most money, you know, I have to make X amount of money per hour, because I know as long as I'm playing I'll be making some money, but more importantly I'm having fun while I'm playing. So it's not just about making money, and I guess you gotta find the balance for you. Maybe for you it's just about min-maxing how much money you make for every hour spent on the game until the league is over, which is fine. Point is opportunity cost and how long-term enjoyment might improve your gains as well. So for this example, let's assume that Simulacrum, you make on average 1 exalt per Simulacrum. Now it takes you 20 minutes to clear this, so you're making 3 exalts per hour. Now on the other hand, let's say from mapping from your own data, you average make 30 chaos per map, but you can also do the maps. You can do 20 maps per hour because you only take 3 minutes to clear a map. So in this example, you're making 4 exalts from maps. So of course, in this example, just doing the maps, you will make more money than you would on Simulacrum, on average at least. But let's also take into consideration now that you really like Simulacrum. Like you can easily sustain it for 10 hours without, with still having fun. You're not wasting any time. You just keep doing Simulacrum. So if you do it for 10 hours, you've made 30 exalts profit. Now, let's say you don't like mapping at all. So maybe you can run 20 maps an hour, but if you don't enjoy it, maybe after 3 hours, you'll start running a map, then coming out, watching YouTube, going AFK, running another map, going AFK again. So maybe you drop down to only doing 5 maps per hour, where now you're making only 1 exalt per hour instead of 4. So if you did that for 10 hours, you might only make 10 exalts. So even though mapping was profitable in 1 hour, just because you like doing Simulacrum more, it's way more profitable for you. Early on into the league, especially the first week, you want to sell everything as fast as possible, because most items you will be selling at this point are going to be common uniques and maybe like rare items with high life and resists or mana, like very generic stats. Since a lot of people there will be a lot of demand for these, but these items are so common that as more and more people get into mapping, these items will be flooded in the market and they will lose value very fast. So if you have some of these items listed for around 15 chaos and someone offers you 10 chaos, you should sell it. You should not wait onto it for 5 chaos, since even waiting 10 hours for that item, it could instantly go down to maybe 2 chaos or 5 chaos. So just sell everything, since you get money, it will make you more money from that money. So you just want to sell everything as fast as possible. And the last 2 points are 2 topics I won't really be covering, which include flipping and crafting for money, since there are too many variables for me to give you guys like guaranteed profit results for these. Even though I do make most of my money probably from these 2 methods, it's very hard to give you guys sure working ways for these, since a lot of the items that I could tell you probably won't even work anymore, since at the time this video is out, or you might even lose a lot of money trying them, which is better for me to just not tell you them at all. I'm gonna talk about how I make my money. So every league I start as a miner, since these characters are very cheap and they can do all endgame content on a very cheap budget, so it's perfect for me. So I start leveling, I get to Blood Aqueduct as fast as possible. Now in Blood Aqueduct I usually get there around level 55. I stay there till level 62. It doesn't matter if I get a full tabula or not, since I don't need one. I will just sell any cards I get for about 3 chaos each. I also start doing chaos recipe at this point, so I pick up all the rares. I don't ID them, I put them all in the stash. At this point I pretty much save all the money I got and I try and buy a Tremor Rod. They usually go for about 10 to 15 chaos. And if I also have enough money to buy the Jeweler's Touch Prophecy, which is another 10 chaos, I'll just use that and have a 5 link, and that will pretty much be good to go till the rest of the game, because I've even done Uber Elder on the 5 link on this build. So that's what I try and get. If I don't, I'll just 4 link it and then save up for a Jeweler's Touch. After this, I just finish progression, get to Act 10, kill Kitava. Now at this point, if I have like 5 chaos for example, I'll try and buy some rare items in each slot for a chaos or an alch to cap my resist. If not, I'll just start IDing some of the extra items I have, like good bases for my chaos recipe tab, just to try and get my resist capped, and I start mapping. When I'm mapping, I pretty much just blast through maps. I do all the white maps, I try to get my bonus completion up, but the most important thing is I just try to do the highest tiers of map I can, because I want to get to red maps as fast as possible. So as soon as I get quite a few yellow maps, and I know that I can sustain yellow maps, I'll start selling all my white maps. And this is also the point where I stop doing chaos recipe, since the two chaos every now and then I made from chaos recipe will now come from selling white maps, because a lot of white maps early are 1 to 2 to even 3 chaos depending on the league. And also, instead of chaos recipe, what I do now is all the rare items I only pick up jewelry, because they take up the least amount of space and they're probably also the most bought item, and I'll put it all in a 10 chaos buyout tab. If anything sells, even if it doesn't, after 5 to 6 hours I'll lower the tab to a 5 chaos buyout tab. and keep lowering it till I don't want to do the trades anymore, and then I just vendor the tab for alterations. Uh, at this point I just keep doing yellow maps, try to get red maps. When I get to red maps and I can safely sustain red maps, I start selling all my yellow maps, which tier 9s and 5s at this point are about 5 kills each even, and then tier 6 to 8 are 2 to 3 kills each. And I'm still selling white maps as well, so I'm starting to get a decent amount of money from just selling maps. So after I get to red maps, I start doing a few upgrades to my character, like buying items with more life and more resists, and if I can, I'll try and get some damage on some pieces, but I usually won't spend more than 5 kills each slot. So my whole character is probably worth at maximum around the 1 exalt at this point. And then here I just do red maps. I might go for a 6 league, I might not. It depends on the league and if I need it or not. Also depends on the bosses I'll be farming. At this point I'm starting to look at the prices of boss sets like Shaper, Uber Adziri, Uber Elder, a Red Elder, and the Prophet. So you can easily look at the items, the demand, the meta, and you can easily see which boss you'll want to be target farming at first. And depending on this I'll upgrade my character if I need. If I don't upgrade my character at all, and I just start farming bosses. The goal here is just to get my Headhunter and about 40 to 50 exalt in other gear for my mapping character. So every day the prices change a lot, and maybe one day I'll farm Shaper, the next day I might farm Uber Adziri, so always gotta look at the prices and what's more profitable. Once I get my Ranger up and running, I have my Headhunter and all my gear, I just play and I'll make a lot of money just from mapping and leveling gems. And the money I do make, since at this point I don't really have a goal in mind, but I do want to buy items for future characters I'll play, since generally early on the items are way more cheap. So I'll start looking at the market for Watcher's Eyes or a Helm enchants or stuff like that. And if I see stuff that's very cheap and that I might use, I'll just buy it. Because in most cases these items, even if I don't end up using them, they will go up in value. So I end up profiting on a lot of these items, like Watcher's Eyes for example. And I just start making extra money just from flips like that. Where it's and it's the same with crafting for me. I usually only craft items for my own build, or I'll buy items that I'll plan to use, but it's also from just following the market on them to know that they're either stable or that they will go up, since the meta, a lot of people want these items but they just can't afford them yet, so I'll just hold on to them and sell them later on. But of course these points are very hard to make a guide on, since these items vary a lot, and of course they're always risky. Now in my situation, these points, like even if those items crash to absolutely nothing, I wouldn't mind, since I already have the gear I want for now. So it's a big risk, but in most cases it does pay off. First moneymaker I'm going to be talking about is of course mapping. It's the most basic of all. I'm not really going to go in detail about what map to farm, since I generally just advise the map that you enjoy the most personally is the one you should be farming. Um, and especially don't get baited by stuff like I have to farm burials because they drop doctors, because you can easily go hundreds of map without one. Though if you do like that map and you have to choose between burials or well any map that drops a diff card and a map that doesn't, and you like them equally as much, you should always go for the one with the diff card, since it's just extra money. Also I'm not really gonna cover magic finding, since I always think that clearing your maps faster is always better than actually magic finding, and the only times I do consider magic finding myself is if I can maintain magic finding while still going as fast as I can, and if I'm going for divination cards specifically. So it's up to you, the balance. Me personally, I maybe magic find like once every few leagues, so it's not really a high priority of mine. So you will still make plenty of money without magic finding. And I'm gonna show you now how I roll my maps, and I'll go over what is always worth using, but don't feel forced to use all of the stuff I'm gonna mention. It's up to you how much you want to use, but just keep in mind that the more stuff that I'm gonna mention you use, probably the better results you will have, since all of this stuff is so cheap. So what I do first is I scour all my maps down to normal tier. After that I start using chisels, get them 20 quality. Chisels are always worth it, but it's up to you if you want to put the effort in. I always do, no matter what point in the league. Then I just alch them all, make them rare. So after this I reroll all the mods that I can do. So for my build this is reflect and cannot regen. I just chaos them, but feel free to kill Scour and then alch them again. It might be a little bit cheaper. After this is an optional one now. I corrupt all my maps. You don't have to do this. I do think it's definitely worth it, but if you have a very small map pool, it might not be worth it for you, since unless you're doing a tier 16 map, a lot of the other maps will go +1, so you will lose quite a few maps doing this, but it's definitely worth it because you get those big maps with 130 quant or big pack sizes, so it's up to you if you want to corrupt them or not. Either way, you can skip this step. Then after this, I just remove all my non-burials, like I said, because I'm doing tier 14, so they sometimes go +1. And then I just sort them out. I put the reflect ones separate, because I can still run the reflect, but I need to get a reflect sextant. The no regen I can also still run, I just don't like doing them, so I just keep them separate, and I'll just bang them all out, like real quick. And then I put the unID'd separate, the nemesis ones, and then just the other ones. I don't really sort them too much. After this, you're ready to go. Now I'll talk about the other stuff you should be using. So the first thing is sextants. You should always use sextants. They are always worth using, especially the simple sextants, which is the lowest tier. You just want to roll anything that adds monsters, so it'll say something like adds 6 packs of poisonous monsters, adds 6 packs of lightning monsters. There's a lot of these mods and they're very common. So you want to use 4 sextants in every zone, and you want to reroll them till you get anything that adds monsters. Simple sextants, currently you can get 800 of them for 1 exalt, which is just insane. These will last you for quite a long time, and you will definitely make way more than 1 exalt just from the monsters that the sextants add alone. The next thing is either sacrifice fragments or scarabs. To start off with this, I mean, just look in your stash, you'll probably have some scarabs lying around and some sacrifice fragments. They're very common and they're also very cheap. So each sacrifice fragment adds 5% quantity to your map, and with how cheap they are, these are always worth using. But scarabs this league are also very cheap and you can get them easily in bulk. So I think scarabs are even better than sacrifice fragments, but it's up to you if you feel like buying scarabs or just using the ones you have. Generally, the only ones I wouldn't use, unless you're doing burial chambers or a map that drops divination card, is of course the divination scarab and maybe the bestiary scarab, because these hold a bit of value. All the other ones you're free to use. I mean, Soulfight speaks for itself. If you're delving, these are good. If not, there's no point in using them. All the other scarabs, you will make your money back off them, so you may as well use them, add some monsters and more enjoyment to your maps. Third thing is prophecies. Again, these are always worth using. They're very cheap and they add a lot of monsters or quantity to your map. The ones you want to use are either Plague of Frogs or the Rats. And the other ones are the Tempest Prophecies. The Tempest Prophecies add 30% quantity to your maps. Usually you can get these prophecies in bulk for 1 to 2 chaos and they will definitely pay for themselves, but it's up to you if you want to go through the effort of buying them and using prophecies every time. Next point is Zana missions. Now, if you have a Headhunter or Inspire Learnings, you're always using Beyond, there's no question about that. If you don't have Headhunter or Inspired, it's honestly up to you what you want to do with the map device. I think at this point in the league, other than Blight, I think all the other mods will pay for themselves. Pirandas might be a questionable one, but it's even as good to not use any Zana mod, because you get 8% quantity for not using a Zana mod, so that might be the best bet. But it's up to you what you want to do. Most of them will pay back their money's worth, so whichever you enjoy the most. The next thing is master missions. Of course, you always want to be using these. These are free. You get them while you're mapping, so you may as well use them. It's the only use for them. The ones I recommend the most is Alva, Einhar for Bestiary, and Betrayal and Zana. So pretty much everything except the Soul Fight, unless of course you're delving, which of course you're using the Soul Fight. I'm gonna go more about Alva later in the video, so keep that in mind. And then the last thing, this is just a bonus. While you're mapping, you will also get Awakeners. Assuming you're doing the higher tier maps at least, you will spawn the Conquerors and Awakener. What you can do with this, of course the Conquerors, you can just kill them. You have a chance to get Awakened Gems or the special Exalted Herbs. Now, don't feel like you're going unlucky if you killed a few of them and you didn't get any. These drops are very rare and very unreliable. Like I sometimes got 30 plus Conquerors without a single Exalt drop, so... But the times I do get one, it's free money, since you know you don't pay anything to do these Conquerors, they just spawn while you're mapping anyway. And then Awakener itself, if you can kill Sirius, great, but again, don't expect too much. Honestly, most of my Sirius, like, I've done maybe, well, I have no idea how many I've done, but any Sirius I've done, it's usually just a crown drop, or I get the gloves and I've all them once and they brick. So don't expect too much, but if you can't kill Sirius, or even if you can, what you can do is you can sell your Sirius kill for someone else and he keeps the loot. So you can go to trade 820 and people pay 1 to 2 exalts for your Sirius. So you just open the portal, they go in, they kill it, they keep the loot, and you're 1 or 2 exalts richer and no effort or time spent on it. Next I want to talk about master missions, in particular your Alva missions and your betrayal missions, and you can sell some of these rooms for a lot of money. For Alva missions, these are the tier 3 corruption room and a tier 2 gem room, and for betrayal, these are your Varici white sockets and Leo exalt slams. So I'm gonna show up Discord real quick, and then there's the Path of Exile, the official Discord, and then this is the second one, which is especially for trading. Now there's a lot of pingable roles, and I'm not really gonna go in depth over the Discord, but you can see your Delirium softcore. I mean, you can sell challenges, lab trials, like there's Breachstone, people who host them and do rotas. Go to the crafting services. So in here you can see there's people who sell Varici white sockets, 40 chaos per white socket. You see double corruption items, they go for 4 exalts, and people actually buy these. 3.5. At the moment they're around 3 to 4 exalts, up to you how fast you wanna sell it. And even at 4 exalts, sometimes they instantly sell. So I'm one of the guys who actually buys these. Well, I was buying them. I stopped buying them for now because I spent a lot of money double corrupting. But as you can see, there's a lot of people, and how it works is, I know this guy, I bought like 10 of him, so he keeps selling them a lot. And what you can do is you will just highlight this tag, so anyone who's buying something, they will get this role assigned. So when you highlight this role, everyone who's looking for that will get notified on Discord. And then how you stream is you will just go into the streaming channel. I'll show you in this one since it's empty. And then either you have it here if your game is detected by Discord, and if not, you can go here. You just stream. You can select whatever you want. So for me, Path of Exile, click go live, and they can join your stream right here in Discord. They will trade you the money and the item they want, and then you just corrupt it for them and give it back. I mean, I would not advise scamming since it's a pretty trusted Discord, and if you scam, you're just ruining your own reputation, so it's not worth it. Next thing I want to talk about is, well, I'm gonna talk about jewels, but you can do this with any items, especially jewelry. Early league works very well, but later into the league, even jewels work very good on this. So if you have a bunch of jewels, these can be normal jewels, abyss jewels, any jewels really, and because jewels are one thing that's so annoying to go price check. Like, I mean, say I want to know how much this jewel is worth, I gotta look for a jewel with mana, maybe some resist, maybe crit chance for lightning skill. No, that's not a really valuable stat, but you know, it's a lot of hassle to check every jewel, the price of it, is it gonna sell, is it not? So what you do is any jewels you find, you just put them in a tab, and then you just give it a price. So for example, for me, these jewels, I ended up corrupting them, but I haven't checked any stats of them. Like, I didn't even go hover over them, like what they got or not. So it's just a blind thing. I put all my jewels here. I put buy out 2 exalts. Now maybe 1 or 2 of these will sell. If they don't, after like a few hours, maybe 10 hours, maybe a day, depends how fast you want, I'll lower the tab to 1 exalt. I just lowered it to 2, so I'm just gonna keep it for 2 for now. But that's the point. Like this tab, for example, it started at 2 exalts. And you can see all these slots missing. Those are all jewels I've sold. Now, of course, they didn't sell all at 2 exalts, because I lowered it from 2 exalts. Maybe I sold 2 for 2 exalts. Then I lowered it to 1 exalt, so again a few sold. Then I lowered it to 100 chaos. I lowered it to 70 chaos. Now it's at 50 chaos. And you just keep lowering it till it gets so cheap that you don't want to bother with selling them anymore. And then you can just vendor these. Like, and then you have your tab empty again. You can do this with any items. I found a lot of success every league with this, with especially jewels, because jewels is one thing that I don't want to spend the time and the effort of looking up which jewel is worth anything. Now mind you, sometimes you will have some insane jewels in these tabs, and you're gonna look at a jewel and be like, wow, this might be worth more than 1 or 2 exalts or whatever your tab is on the buyout. But in my opinion, I just sell them anyway. If they're worth more, they're worth more. Whatever, it's free money for me. If they're worth less, well, that's just even more money right there. So I wouldn't go way into it and try to keep jewels and really hold on to them, because at the end of the day, even like really, really good jewels, they probably won't be that much more anyway. So you may as well just sell them. Next point, I want to talk about Blighted Maps and Red Elder Guardians. So of course these are very profitable, but they're pretty annoying to run, so it depends if you like running them or not. Either way, I'm going to talk about Elder Guardians first. These maps, as you can see on the implicit, it says the map is occupied by the Constrictor, Enslaver, Purifier, and then there's the other one, which is Eradicator, but I don't have any at the moment. So how you look for these, on the official trade website, here you put map is occupied, you'll get this implicit, and then you can select which guardian you want. So let's say the Enslaver, for example. I mean, these maps are very cheap. Well, this one's obviously a price fixer, but as you can see, 25 chaos. Now these prices, honestly, they're more than they should be, because I've been trying to sell these maps for 20 chaos and they haven't even sold, so you can get these really cheap. Let me check maybe the other guardians, because of course the prices will differ. So this one, like 20 chaos, could probably get this. 25, there's so many listed. I think the other ones are even cheaper, but of course the fragments are way more expensive as well. 20 chaos, 23. Yeah, so I guess they're around 20 to 25 chaos now. You can get these in bulk a lot cheaper, but either way, if I go to my fragments tab, let me see how much these fragments are. So the fragments sell at like 40 chaos. So if you can get the map for 20 to 25 chaos, just from killing the boss alone, you're profiting 15 chaos. Now it depends for you if that's a lot of money or not for you, but either way, this is guaranteed profit every map you run, so there's no risk, and plus any other drops you get during the map, so that's just extra money. Next is Blighted Maps. Of course, this league, everything, especially Simulacrum, is just dropping so many Blighted Maps that they're insanely cheap, and their loots haven't really changed since last leagues. So I'm very sure even red Blighted Maps, you can probably get them for around 10 to 15 chaos, I think they are currently. So you will guaranteed make that money back. Now, maybe you run one Blighted Map and you don't get 15 chaos, and you might be like, wow, what happened? But trust me, if you run multiple of these, it's almost impossible to lose money doing Blighted Maps. So if your build can handle it, especially red ones, they're really good. Even with the oils and stuff dropping a lot in price, they're still very profitable. So if you like doing Blighted Maps, this is the league to do it. Want to also quickly mention Simulacrum. Of course, this is very profitable as well. Depends on your build though, if you're able to do it, because the later waves get pretty difficult. So if you can do it and you like doing them, just keep doing these. They're very easy. All you need is a Simulacrum. You can even buy these in bulk, and you just run it, and on average you will always profit. So if you do one run, you don't make your money, don't be upset. It will even out after multiple runs. The last point I want to talk about, even though I said I wouldn't mention it, is Magic Find. And I mean, even without Magic Find, just burials in general. Since this league, I mean, the whole league already have been saying it, and a lot of people have been saying it, that doctor drop rates are just insane. I see a lot of people averaging one doctor in 50 to 100 maps, which other leagues that would have been an insane rate. But this league in particular, I just recently switched to Magic Find because I kind of like stopped min-maxing my other builds. I was like, hey, let me just Magic Find for a little bit, map and chill. And I started yesterday, and this tab here, so these were all full with maps. So I've ran about 24, 27, 31 maps now. And I mean, if I look away my dub tab and I check Doctor, I've dropped 4 doctor cards. Oh, I do not want to get rid of them. 4 doctor cards in 31 maps. Now, of course, you're not gonna expect 4 doctors in 30 maps, but it's just insane. And I've been hearing a lot of good rates from other people as well. Even without Magic Find, like I farmed almost 2 headhunters completely before I switched to Magic Find. So if you really like mapping, I really suggest you try out Burial Chamber this league, and don't be scared to put some investment into your maps. So my maps, so you can see, I run Polished Divination, Harbinger, either like most of these scarabs, even running them rusted, is very good. I just got the Gilded Harbinger and Gilded Ambush for very cheap, so that's why I'm using them. But usually I just use all polished scarabs. If polished go too expensive, I even use rusted. So, and then of course prophecies, I have rats, and I have all the Tempest ones. And then of course I also sextants everything, and I'm using two of the unique whetstones as well, Booming Populace and War Among the Stars, to add some monsters and pack size. So don't be afraid to juice your maps. In theory, you should never lose money mapping. Maybe if you do a few maps, you might lose money, but eventually you will definitely make money. So no, I hope you enjoyed. I hope a few of those tips help you to make more money. For me personally, I make most of my money from mapping. I'll make a decent amount from crafting and flipping as well, of course, but at the end of the day, I just map a lot, and that's probably why I make so much money. I'm already on my 4th level 100 this league, and that doesn't even include all the times I've died and lost XP in the process, so I hope at least this video helped you a little bit in your goals, in probably achieving a headhunter or whichever item you're going for.